Most people experience restaurants one sided. You walk in, you sit down, you eat, you drink, you pay the bill, and leave. Simple. But after working for so long in restaurants, bars, pubs across Australia, Canada, India, and France, one thing I've learned is that there is a whole world that works behind the scenes that guests never really get to see. And honestly, that's a good thing. Because if people saw what really happens behind the scenes, they wouldn't look at restaurants the same way they do. And today I'm here to share some stories. Not secrets, just reality. People often think that managers control the flow of the restaurant. And sometimes they do. But during service, a host or a hostess is the most powerful person in the room. And I learned this the hard way. Let me tell you a quick story. A few years ago, when I was working in the industry, a manager decided to be the host for the night, but he never really understood pacing. He basically sat everyone that walked through the door, whether they had a reservation or not. The first 30 minutes looked amazing because the room was full, everyone was happy, there was a great vibe in the room. But then 30 minutes later, reality kicked in. The servers were running around trying to make sure everybody's orders were put through to the kitchen. And the kitchen got slammed. They had hundreds of tickets coming through within a short period of time. Food got delayed and people were waiting for a long time for their food. They got frustrated and the entire service fell apart. Honestly, that night taught me something. That restaurants aren't just about filling seats. It's about controlling the flow and making sure everybody has a seamless experience. Good hosts just don't seat people, but they control the flow of the restaurant and the entire operation. Think of them like air traffic controllers. No guest notices when they do a good job, but everybody feels the heat when they don't. One of the biggest misconceptions that people have is that the cooking in the kitchen starts once they place an order in the restaurant. But it doesn't. I work with prep cooks that start at 7 or 8 in the morning and work through till 3, 4 in the afternoon trying to get everything ready before a service. They chop vegetables, they make stocks, they make sauces, they make desserts, they stock stations. They basically prep everything so that the food can be prepared in about 10 to 15 minutes. So when somebody places an order at 7 in the evening and they expect the food to come out in 15 minutes, and honestly they should, the cooking just didn't happen then. It started hours before, and the guests never get to see this. I've spent plenty of time behind bars. What guests don't realize is making the drink is not the hard part. Managing time is. I remember being behind the bar, getting buried in tickets, and the printer would just keep going. It was drink after drink after drink. Most inexperienced bartenders work on one drink at a time. Experienced bartenders don't. If I had a couple of beers, a glass of wine, and 4 cocktails on 2 different tickets, I would get the beer and wine out first, and then work on multiple cocktails at the same time. Because guests don't care about when you start making the drink. They care about when it arrives. Imagine sitting in a restaurant. If you order a cocktail, you expect it to take a few extra minutes. But then if you order a glass of wine and keep waiting for it, you'd get frustrated. The goal isn't just making drinks. It's about moving the board. And most experienced bartenders know how to do this really well. In a restaurant, the chef gets the attention, the manager gets the attention, the bartender gets the attention, but the dishwasher, never. Until they call in sick. I worked in restaurants where a dishwasher has called in sick or didn't show up for a shift, and suddenly everybody becomes a dishwasher. The servers and the kitchen staff, everybody is helping wash plates and cutlery and pots and pans, because without clean plates or pans to cook or even cutlery for guests, the restaurant literally stops. And working in hospitality, the one thing it teaches you is that every role matters. And sometimes the people that guests never notice are the people that are actually keeping everything running. People often assume that hospitality staff get proper meal breaks. Sit down, relax, eat comfortably, maybe check their phone? Not usually. Most of my meals in the hospitality industry have been eating standing up. A few bites here, a few bites there in between service. And some of my most memorable meals have been sitting on an empty milk crate in the back. Usually because a food was made twice, somebody changed their mind, or the kitchen accidentally made extra food. Meanwhile, we're serving beautiful meals to guests. We are eating ours as quickly as possible before the next rush. Strangely, it is glamorous and completely unglamorous at the same time. One of the craziest shifts I ever did was at an all day dining restaurant in a hotel. It was a restaurant which had breakfast, lunch, and dinner buffets, and it was extremely busy. So one day I walk in for my lunch shift and it never ended. We had over 250 guests for lunch and close to about 300 guests for dinner that day. And at the end of the night, the restaurant looked exhausted because there were no plates, cutlery, or glassware. And the overnight server that was supposed to come in to help reset the restaurant and set it up for breakfast again the next morning called in sick. And I decided to stay back at the end of the night and I said, okay, let me help them. And I got everything ready. And then the next morning, the manager walks in and he asked me what I was doing there so early because I was not scheduled to come back until lunch shift. So I told him what happened and I told him that I never left. So he said, why don't you just finish the breakfast shift and then go home and take the day off? I was excited. So I finished my breakfast shift, set up everything for lunch, and then I went home, ate, and slept like a rock. Until my phone rang at about 9 o'clock in the evening. The overnight server had quit. So I had to go back in again and do it all over again. Hospitality industry can be crazy sometimes. Despite the long hours, the stress, and everything that goes behind the scenes in the hospitality industry, I still love working there because every day creates a new story. Every day is different and every guest is different. Guests only experience a few hours in a restaurant, but there's an entire brigade that works countless hours making sure every guest enjoys those few hours and help guests create some memories in our restaurants. Most people never get to see behind the scenes, but now you do. For more such interesting stories on hospitality, food, drinks, and travel, please don't forget to share, subscribe, and follow me. Thank you for joining me on this one again, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.